Well, thank you very much for that, Pip. What an insightful and personal piece. Thank you very much. Please make some noise for Pip. Cool. Well, I'm going to perform a couple of poems for you now. That's why you find me in my reading room. Um, so the first one is, I think it's a children's poem I wrote a number of years ago, called One Mind, Two Mind, and it just goes like this. A light went on, something bright went on, and a mind full of thoughts was born. A mind of brains hard to contain, it was smart, kind, and warm. As the mind grew, it always knew it was getting smarter by the day. The mind was full of gold, and as it got old, it enjoyed to sing, dance, and play. The mind learned to swim the seas, the mind learned to climb the trees. The mind learned Spanish, English, and maths, and could with tremendous clever ease. And the mind watched the sun rise, and the mind felt just fine. He smiled over the land he saw, and said, "Everything is mine." The man, he saw the golden Solaris, and thought that he saw all there was to see. He felt the grass dry or damp, and said, "Everything's for me." But on his second birthday, he didn't know what to do, 'cause he saw something strange, he saw something new. A second mind, not his, you see, walked freely over a hill. He saw the second mind, you see, and started feeling ill. He'd never seen another, or even his own reflection, but as this mirror mind approached, he felt no affection. The second mind approached him, it smiled a purple grin, stuck out a fire mind hand, and was very welcoming. But the first mind didn't like it. He was the king of the land, and he was the only mind here, so he never gave his hand. The next day he was climbing his favourite nimbar tree, when the mind too came along, and said, "I do decree, you're a talented young climber, but I fear you may drop. Maybe if we helped each other, we could reach the very top." The first mind had never ever reached the top branch, but he wouldn't let mind two see it before him. No, not by any chance. So he stayed silent and pulled with his grippiest grip. But the nimber twig snapped, and the mind began to slip. He fell for minutes, he fell for hours, he fell on grass, he fell on flowers, he fell on the ground, on the dirt. He tried to move, but it really hurt. It hurt his maths, it hurt his eye, it hurt his climb, it hurt his try. And though he was rude, oh my, mind two helped him up, and he didn't know why. Mind two carried him home and laid him on bed, and said, "I will stay here until you get better." That's what mind two to one said. He fixed his leg, he fixed his arm, he fixed his knobbly knee. He helped him fix his maths again, asking, "What is 5 times 3?" He asked the mind questions. For minutes, hours they spoke. For the first time in mind one's life, he heard a funny joke. The one about the camel, who got the hump with a small bath. He asked to hear another, and for hours they would laugh. And when the first one, felt all fit and well, mind two got up and said, "I've got no more jokes to tell." Mind one felt sad for him leaving, said, "Will you come back to me? Tomorrow, maybe you'd quite like to climb that nimber tree." Mind two smiled kindly, and as he did on the first day, and said, "Are you sure I won't get in the way?" "It would be my pleasure." "No, the pleasure is all mine." "We could come tomorrow." "Yes, please." "Well, that's decided. Fine." The next morning the two minds stood at the base of the nimbar tree. They pulled each other, and they climbed quite easily. They didn't stop talking. They never stopped at all. Even though the tree was long and steep, and it had grown so very tall. They talked about adventures, they talked about birds, they talked about Thailand, and talked in funny words. They talked for hours, and each of them laughed from their belly. They laughed about the shape of the moon, and how your feet get smelly. And when they helped each other to the top branch and the sun began to set, they stared in pure amazement at a sight they never forget. The sky was filled with diamonds, the cloud as white as bread, the moon shone like a gaslight, the sun was smiling into bed. They smiled at each other, two minds and now two friends. They climbed back down quite safely, but the friendship never ends. You see, you know your own mind. To know your own mind is dazzling, it's bright and brave. But to know another's better, it's each other's roads we pave. Mind too knew his mind from the beginning, yes, from the very start. But when he learned to know mind too, he also learned about his heart. There we are. That was an old poem I wrote a while ago. And second poem I'm actually performing um, is goes like this. Mischief sparkled in the corner of her mouth, a subtlety woven for your most rapturous of moments. And brothers, sisters, how the sight of that smile could destroy you. A secret flame, invisible until she felt you needed it. It's dancing time, fellas. Leave your egos at the door. Shine your light through that soul prism once more. Cut a smooth shape across the laser highway of imagination. Take her to your forests and oceans in one gaze, and the fresh morning days bring in the new rays. Feel the dawn. She'll show you sides of your open heart you never knew existed. Kiss the lining, then wise you back into the woodlands of wisdom. Consciousness ablaze, it's like another part of you is dancing, like the moons never looked so bright or the stars so close. And as you pull them out of her eyes, she throws them back to the sky, says everyone should enjoy them, and everyone should find their way home. And as you're pulled from another jazz dream haze of who you once dreamt you might be, you wonder whether you've ever met someone who knew why they were dancing but danced more relentlessly for it, or someone whose smile you wanted to reflect so badly, or whether mischiefs ever seemed so calmly, peacefully energetic. Thank you very much. So now we move on to Beth Calverley, who is going to be doing the Poetry Machine workshop. So please have, if you're attending this workshop, have your pads and pens ready. Beth Calverley is a very talented poet and workshop maker who's worked with the NHS and universities and schools and festivals all over the country, helping people to create a piece which they will write and weave together. So please get ready for the first workshop of Poetry Machine from Beth Calverley.